The alien ship moved through space like a knife cutting through dark water. Commander Vextar stood on the bridge, his scaled hands gripping the metal rail. His yellow eyes stared at the human vessel floating ahead. The ship looked small and weak compared to his own warship. "Are the weapons ready?" Vextar asked his crew. "Yes, Commander," replied Krexnos, the weapons officer. His green scales caught the light from the control panels. "The humans cannot escape." Vexatar nodded. He had fought many battles across the galaxy. He had seen species that could crush metal with their bare hands. He had faced creatures that could survive in the cold emptiness of space. But humans were different. They came from a world that other species called a death world, a planet so dangerous that only the strongest could live there. The human ship was called the New Soul. It drifted in space between two star systems. The Galactic Defense Council wanted to know why humans were here. This area of space belonged to the hegemony. Humans had no right to be here. "Send the message," Vextar ordered. The communication officer sent a signal to the human ship. "This is Commander Vextar of the Galactic Defense Council. You are in restricted space. Prepare to be boarded." The response came quickly. A woman's voice spoke in clear galactic standard language. "This is Captain Lee Jiwan of the colony ship New Soul. We mean no harm. Our engines are damaged. We request permission to make repairs." Vextar studied the readings on his screen. The human ship showed no weapons. The life signs inside were normal. There were about 3,000 humans on board, men, women, and children. They looked like refugees, not invaders. "We will board your ship for inspection," Vextar announced. "Do not resist." "Understood," Captain Jiwan replied. "We welcome you aboard." Vextar chose his best warriors for the boarding party, Krexnos from his own Sauroch species. The reptilian warrior was strong and fast, Zixandra from the insect-like Velnathi. Her 4 arms could move faster than the eye could follow. Qualheim from the crystal people called Threkmani. His body could turn as hard as diamond when threatened. The boarding shuttle flew across the empty space between the two ships. Vextar looked at his warriors. They wore full battle armor and carried powerful weapons. They were ready for anything the humans might try. "Remember," Vextar said to his team, "humans are from a death world. They are dangerous even when they look weak. Stay alert." The shuttle docked with the human ship. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Vextar stepped through first, his weapon ready. The corridor beyond was bright and clean. It smelled of recycled air and something else, something organic that he could not identify. A woman waited for them. She was tall for a human with short black hair and dark eyes. She wore a simple, blue uniform with captain's bars on her shoulders. 2 other humans stood behind her. One was a man in a white coat who looked like a scientist. The other was a younger man in work clothes. "Welcome aboard the New Soul," the woman said with a small bow. "I am Captain Lee Jiwan. This is Dr. Park, Hyun Woo, our chief scientist, and engineer Kim Daeho." Vextar studied the 3 humans. They looked so small and soft compared to his warriors. Their skin had no scales or armor. Their limbs looked thin and breakable. How could such weak creatures survive on a death world? "We require a full inspection of your ship," Vextar announced. "You will show us everything." "Of course," Captain Jiwan replied. "We have nothing to hide." "Would you like to start with the bridge or the living areas?" "The living areas," Vextar decided. He wanted to see how these humans really lived. He wanted to understand what made them dangerous. Captain Jiwon led them through the corridors of the ship. The walls were painted in soft colors. Pictures hung in frames showing landscapes from the human homeworld. Children's drawings were posted on bulletin boards. Everything looked peaceful and normal. They passed other humans going about their daily work. An old man tended to plants in a small garden. A group of women sat together working on some kind of fabric. Children played games in a large room filled with toys and books. "How many humans are on this ship?" Zixandra asked. Her insect eyes clicked as they moved to track the people around them. 3,047, Dr. Park answered. "Mostly families looking for a new home. We left Earth because of overcrowding." Qualheim's crystal body flickered different colors as he analyzed the humans they passed. "They do not look dangerous," he said in his musical voice. Engineer Kim laughed. "We're just regular people. Farmers, teachers, doctors, mechanics. Nothing special about us." But Vextar was not convinced. Intelligence reports said that humans had conquered their entire homeworld. They had defeated every predator and survived every disaster their planet could create. Creatures that could do that were never just regular people. They entered a large dining area where hundreds of humans sat eating their evening meal. The air was filled with the sound of conversation and laughter. Children ran between the tables while adults watched them with gentle smiles. "Your young seem very active," Krexnos observed. "In Sarok culture, children stayed hidden until they were old enough to fight." "Kids have a lot of energy," Captain Jiwon said. "We try to give them space to play and learn." A small human child, maybe 5 years old, ran up to Captain Jiwon. She had pigtails and wore a bright yellow dress. "Captain Jiwon, Baram is looking for his ball. Can you help?" Captain Jiwon smiled and patted the child's head. "Tell Baram to check the recreation room. I think someone saw it there." The child nodded and ran away. Vexatar frowned. Who was this Baram the child mentioned? The name did not appear on any of the crew lists his ship had received. "Who is Baram?" Vextar asked. Captain Jiwon's expression became thoughtful. "Oh, he's one of our... Well, you could call him a crew member. He helps with security and morale," Dr. Park chuckled. "Baram takes his job very seriously, sometimes too seriously." Engineer Kim grinned. "Yesterday, he tried to protect the kitchen staff from the vacuum cleaner. He thought it was attacking them." The 3 humans shared a look that seemed to have some private meaning. Vextar made a mental note to investigate this Baram character later. They continued the tour through more sections of the ship. Everything seemed normal for a refugee vessel. The humans were polite and cooperative. They answered all questions honestly. They showed no signs of hiding weapons or planning attacks. But as they walked deeper into the ship, Vextar began to hear something. A low sound that seemed to come from somewhere ahead of them. It was deep and rhythmic, like breathing, but louder. Much louder. His warriors heard it too. Krexnos's hand moved to his weapon. Zixandra's antennae twitched nervously. Qualheim's body began to shimmer as his defensive systems activated. The sound grew stronger as they moved forward. It was coming from around the next corner. It sounded like the breathing of something very large, something that might be sleeping or waiting. Captain Jiwon seemed completely unconcerned. She continued to chat with Dr. Park about ship maintenance schedules. Engineer Kim pointed out interesting features of the corridor design. None of the humans seemed to notice the ominous sound that was making the alien warriors increasingly nervous. As they approached the corner, the sound suddenly changed. The slow, rhythmic breathing became a low growl, deep and threatening, the sound of a predator that had detected intruders in its territory. Vextar raised his hand, stopping his team. All three warriors drew their weapons and took defensive positions. Whatever was around that corner was big, dangerous, and very close. "What is that sound?" Vextar demanded. Captain Jiwan tilted her head, listening. A smile crossed her face. "Oh, that's just Barum. He's probably hungry for dinner." The alien warriors stood frozen in the corridor. Their weapons were ready. Their bodies were tense for battle. The growling sound grew louder and closer. Whatever this Barum was, it sounded like a creature that could tear them apart. Captain Jiwan looked at the three aliens with confusion. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "That sound," Commander Vextar said through clenched teeth. "What kind of predator is on your ship?" Dr. Park Hyunwoo laughed softly. "Barum isn't a predator. Well, not exactly. He's more like family." The growling changed to a different sound. Heavy footsteps were coming toward them. Fast footsteps. The sound of something big running through the corridors of the ship. The aliens could hear claws clicking against the metal floor. "It's hunting," Krexnos whispered. His scales had turned a darker green, a sign of fear in his species. "The pack approaches," Zixandra added. Her 4 arms held her weapon steady, but her insect eyes darted nervously. Qualheim's crystal body flashed bright red. "Predator patterns detected. Large carnivore, possibly pack leader." Engineer Kim Daeho looked between the aliens and shook his head. "You guys are really jumpy. Barum is harmless. Well, mostly harmless. He might lick you to death." The humans seemed completely calm. Captain Jiwan even smiled as the footsteps got closer. This confused the aliens even more. How could these soft, weak creatures be so relaxed when a dangerous predator was approaching? The answer came around the corner at full speed. It was massive, at least as tall as a human's waist, with a long body covered in thick fur. Its head was large and powerful, with a long snout filled with sharp white teeth. Its eyes were alert and intelligent. Its ears stood up straight, scanning for sounds. 4 strong legs carried it forward with the smooth grace of a natural hunter. Vextar had seen many predators across the galaxy. This creature had all the signs of an apex hunter. The muscle structure for bringing down large prey, the teeth for tearing flesh, the eyes for tracking movement, the speed for chasing down anything that tried to run. "Defensive positions," Vextar shouted. But before any of the aliens could move, something impossible happened. A small human girl came running around the same corner. She was maybe 10 years old, with long black hair and pigtails. She wore a school uniform and carried a small backpack. She was running straight toward the massive predator. "Barum!" she called out happily. The aliens watched in horror as the child ran directly into the path of the dangerous creature. They prepared to witness something terrible. In their experience, predators did not show mercy to small, helpless prey. But the creature did not attack. Instead, its entire body language changed. The alert, hunting posture melted away. Its tail, which the aliens had not noticed before, began to move back and forth rapidly. Its mouth opened, but instead of a threatening snarl, its tongue hung out in what looked almost like a smile. The little girl threw her arms around the creature's neck and hugged it tightly. "I missed you, boy. Did you miss me too?" The creature made a soft whining sound and gently nuzzled the child's face with its massive head. Its tail wagged so hard that its whole back end wiggled. It was being careful not to knock the small girl over with its enthusiasm. "Good boy, Barum," the girl said, scratching behind the creature's ears. "Were you looking for me?" Dr. Park walked over and patted the creature on its side. "He was probably worried when you were late coming back from school." The alien warriors stood in complete shock. Their weapons were still drawn, but they no longer knew what to do with them. Everything they understood about predator-prey relationships had just been turned upside down. "This is Han Subin," Captain Jiwon said, introducing the little girl. "And this is Barum. He's her best friend." Subin looked up at the aliens with curious eyes. "Are they from another planet? Baram, look! Alien visitors!" The creature called Baram turned its attention to the aliens. Its intelligent eyes studied them with interest, but no aggression. It approached slowly, tail still wagging, and sniffed in their direction. Krexnos nearly jumped out of his scales when the creature's wet nose touched his armored leg. "It's investigating us," he said in amazement. "He's saying hello," Subin explained. "Baram likes meeting new people, don't you, boy?" Dr. Park reached into his pocket and pulled out a small rubber ball. He held it up so Baram could see it. The creature's eyes locked onto the ball immediately. Its whole body became tense with excitement. "Want to play fetch?" Dr. Park asked. He threw the ball down the corridor. The aliens watched in disbelief as the massive predator immediately forgot about everything else. It spun around and chased after the small rubber ball like its life depended on catching it. "Fetch?" Qualheim asked. His crystal body flickered. With confusion. "It's a game," Engineer Kim explained. "Barum loves games. Watch this." The creature returned with the ball in its mouth, but instead of eating it or destroying it, Barum gently placed it at Dr. Park's feet and sat down. Its tail continued to wag as it looked up at the human with obvious hope. "Good boy," Dr. Park said, and threw the ball again. Once again, the creature abandoned all dignity and raced after the ball with pure joy. Its powerful legs carried it down the corridor faster than any of the aliens could run. But when it caught the ball, it carefully brought it back instead of running away with its prize. "I don't understand," Zixandra said. Her antennae were twitching rapidly, a sign of deep confusion. "The predator submits to the humans willingly." "Baram isn't just any predator," Captain Jiwon explained. "His ancestors were wolves, wild pack hunters from Earth. But thousands of years ago, humans and wolves began working together. Over time, they became partners." "Partners?" Vextar asked. The concept was difficult for him to grasp. In his culture, relationships between species were always about dominance and submission. "More than partners," Subin said, still hugging Baram around his thick neck. "Baram is family. He protects me, and I take care of him. We love each other." The aliens' translators struggled with the word love. It was a concept that existed in their languages, but only between members of the same species. The idea of loving a creature from a completely different evolutionary line was almost impossible to process. Dr. Park scratched Baram behind the ears, and the big creature leaned into the touch with obvious pleasure. Dogs like Barum have been human companions for over 15,000 years. They're loyal, intelligent, and brave. They help us with hunting, protection, and companionship. "But why would a predator give up its freedom?" Krexnos asked. "Why? Would it serve humans instead of living wild?" "Because we take care of each other," Engineer Kim said simply. "Barum gets food, shelter, medical care, and love. In return, he offers protection, companionship, and loyalty. It's not servitude, it's partnership. Young Subin looked up at the aliens. Bahram would die to protect me, and I would do anything to keep him safe. That's what families do. The creature seemed to understand that it was being discussed. It sat up straighter and looked proud. Its tail wagged gently as it looked between the humans and the aliens. "There are others?" Qualheim asked. "Oh, yes," Captain Jiwan said with a smile. "We have lots of different companions on the ship. Dogs, cats, birds, rabbits, even some fish and reptiles." "Cats?" Zixandra's voice rose in pitch. "What are cats?" Dr. Park grinned. "You'll love cats. They're independent. They chose to live with humans, but they never let us forget that it was their choice." Vextar was trying to process everything he had seen. A predator that played games, a creature that obeyed humans out of love rather than fear, a partnership between species that had lasted thousands of years. It challenged everything his species believed about evolution and survival. "How many of these dogs are on your ship?" he asked. "About 50, Engineer Kim replied. "Different breeds for different jobs. Some are good at guarding. Others are better at finding things. Some are just good at making people happy." Bahram seemed to realize he was still the center of attention. He performed what humans called a play bow, lowering his front end while keeping his rear end high in the air. His tail wagged so hard it looked like his whole body might shake apart. "He wants to play," Subin giggled. "Do you want to throw the ball for him?" She looked hopefully at the alien warriors. Vextar stared down at the small rubber ball, then at the massive creature waiting eagerly for the game to continue. Nothing in his military training had prepared him for this moment. "I think we should continue the tour," he said finally. "Good idea," Captain Jiwan agreed. "Wait until you meet the cats." The tour continued through the human ship, but the alien warriors moved differently now. They kept glancing back at Bahram, who followed the group with his tail wagging. The massive creature stayed close to little Subin, occasionally bumping against her legs with gentle affection. Commander Vextar tried to focus on his mission, but his mind kept returning to what he had witnessed. A predator that chose to serve. A creature that found joy in simple games. It went against everything he had learned about survival and evolution. "Tell me more about this partnership," Vextar said to Dr. Park as they walked. The human scientist smiled. "It's called domestication. Over thousands of years, humans selected the wolves that were most friendly and helpful. We bred them to enhance certain traits: loyalty, intelligence, the desire to work with humans rather than against us." "You changed their evolution?" Zixandra asked. Her insect mind found this concept fascinating. "We guided it," Dr. Park corrected. "We didn't force them to become something they weren't. We just encouraged the traits that made them better partners for humans." They entered a new section of the ship. This area was quieter, with soft lighting and comfortable seating areas. Several humans sat reading or talking in small groups, but the aliens quickly noticed they were not alone. A creature sat in a sunny spot near a large window. It was smaller than Bahram, with a sleek body covered in striped fur. Its green eyes watched the aliens with calm intelligence. It had pointed ears and a long tail that twitched slowly as it observed the newcomers. "That's Miru," said a woman sitting nearby. Her name tag read, "Dr. Shin Yunji, behavioral psychologist. She's one of our cats." The creature called Miru stood up and stretched. The aliens could see she was built for hunting. Her body was lean and flexible. Her paws had sharp claws that extended briefly as she stretched. Her eyes tracked movement with the focus of a predator. Another hunting species, Qualheim observed. His crystal body flickered with analytical light. Cats are ambush predators, Dr. Shin explained. They evolved to hunt alone, stalking prey in silence and striking with precision. Miru jumped down from her perch and approached the group. Unlike Baram's enthusiastic greeting, the cat moved with careful dignity. She sniffed at the alien's feet, then sat down and began to clean her paw with her tongue. "She's deciding whether she likes you," Dr. Shin said with amusement. "The predator decides?" Krexnos asked in confusion. "Cats chose to live with humans," Captain Jiwan explained. "But they never forgot that it was their choice. Dogs serve humans out of love and loyalty. Cats allow humans to serve them out of mutual benefit." Suddenly, Miru did something unexpected. She walked over to Commander Vextar and rubbed against his armored leg. A low, rumbling sound came from her throat. "She's purring," Dr. Shin said with surprise. "That means she likes you. Cats don't usually warm up to strangers so quickly." Vextar looked down at the small predator. The creature looked back up at him with half-closed eyes, still making the strange rumbling sound. "What does she want from me?" "Nothing, really," Dr. Shin replied. "She's just being friendly. You can pet her, if you want." The idea of touching a predator voluntarily seemed insane to Vextar. But the creature continued to rub against his leg and purr. Slowly, carefully, he reached down with one scaled hand. Miru immediately pushed her head into his palm, purring louder. Her fur was soft and warm. She seemed to enjoy the contact, pressing against his hand for more attention. "Incredible," Vextar whispered. "She trusts me completely." "Cats are good judges of character," Dr. Shin said. "If Miru likes you, it means you have a good heart." They continued through the ship, encountering more of these impossible relationships. In the agricultural section, they met farmer Beijinhe, who kept chickens. The birds should have been terrified of humans, but instead they followed her around like loyal pets. "Chickens are prey animals," Bay explained as several of the birds pecked at grain around her feet. "But humans protect them from predators. We give them food and safe places to lay eggs. In return, they provide eggs and meat." "You eat them?" Zixandra asked. "Some of them," Bay admitted. "But we treat them well while they live. They have good lives, better than they would in the wild." In another section, they found crew member Oh Sung-min with a small cage containing tiny furry creatures. "These are hamsters," he explained. "They don't really do anything useful. We just think they're cute." The aliens stared at the small rodents. They were clearly prey animals, designed by evolution to hide from predators and reproduce quickly. Yet humans kept them safe, fed them, and seemed to enjoy watching them run on tiny wheels. "You protect prey animals for entertainment?" Qualheim asked. "For companionship," O corrected. "Humans bond with all kinds of creatures. We find joy in caring for other living things." In the children's area, they found even more impossible sights. A boy named Kang Yejin carried a small rabbit in his arms. The creature should have been terrified of the human scent, but instead it nestled against the boy's chest with complete trust. "This is Snowball," Yejin said proudly. "I rescued her when she was a baby. Now she follows me everywhere." The rabbit's dark eyes watched the aliens calmly. There was no fear, no desire to escape. The prey animal had chosen to trust a creature that could easily harm it. Dr. Park noticed the alien's confusion. "You have to understand," he said. "Humans evolved differently than most species. We survive not by being the strongest or fastest, but by forming alliances." "Alliances with your own kind," Vextar said. "That's normal." "No," Dr. Park shook his head. "Alliances with everything. Humans learned to work with wolves to hunt. We partnered with horses for transportation. We used birds to send messages. We even formed relationships with plants, learning which ones could heal us and which ones we could eat." Security Officer Yoon Tae-hyung joined the conversation. He had been listening from nearby. "On Earth, humans never fight alone," he said. "We always have allies. Dogs to track and guard, horses to carry us, birds to scout ahead, even insects to pollinate our crops." "But how do you control them?" Krexnos asked. "How do you force them to obey?" "We don't force them," Yoon replied. "We earn their cooperation. We make their lives better, and they choose to help us in return." To demonstrate, Yoon gave a simple command to Baram, who had been following the group. "Sit." The large dog immediately sat down, tail wagging. Yoon then said, "Stay," and walked across the room. Baram remained in place, though his eyes followed his human companion. "He obeys because he wants to," Yoon explained. "Not because he's afraid of punishment, but because he trusts me. He knows that when I give commands, it's for a good reason." "Give him another command," Zixandra requested. "Come," Yoon called. Baram immediately bounded across the room to his side, tail wagging with joy at being reunited with his human friend. "The predator enjoys following orders," Qualheim observed. "This goes against all natural behavior patterns." "Not all natural behavior," Dr. Shin corrected. "Dogs are pack animals. In the wild, they follow pack leaders. Humans became their pack leaders by proving we could take care of the group better than any wolf could." Young Subin, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "Baram doesn't follow orders because he has to. He does it because he loves us, and we love him back." She hugged the big dog around his neck. Baram's tail wagged so hard it looked like it might fall off. The love between the child and the predator was obvious and genuine. "Love," Vextar repeated the word. His translator struggled with the concept when applied across species lines. "The strongest force in the universe," Captain Jiwon said simply. "Stronger than fear, stronger than hunger, stronger than the survival instinct." Humans learn to use love as a tool for building alliances. But what happens when the alliance is no longer beneficial? Vexatar asked. "What happens when feeding these creatures becomes a burden?" The humans exchanged glances. Dr. Park was the one who answered. "We had a dog on our last ship. His name was Brave. He got sick with an illness we couldn't cure. He was in pain, and we knew he was going to die." "So you abandoned him?" Krexnos guessed. "We stayed with him," Dr. Park said softly. "We made his last days as comfortable as possible. When it was time, we helped him die peacefully, surrounded by the people who loved him. Then we mourned for him, just like we would mourn a human family member." The aliens stood in silence. The idea of grieving for a different species was almost incomprehensible to them. "That's the real strength of the human-animal bond," Captain Jiwon said. "It's not just about what they can do for us. It's about genuine care and affection. We love them and they love us back. That bond makes both species stronger, As if to emphasize the point, Miru the cat jumped onto a nearby table and began purring loudly. Several humans in the area automatically reached out to pet her as they passed by. The cat accepted their attention as her due, clearly enjoying the affection. The relationship continues even when there's no immediate benefit, Vextar observed. Because the relationship itself is the benefit, Dr. Shin explained. Humans need companionship. We need to feel loved and needed. These animals provide that, and we provide the same for them. Suddenly, an alarm sounded throughout the ship. A calm voice spoke over the intercom. Emergency in Agricultural Bay 7. All emergency response teams report immediately. Captain Jiwon's expression became serious. The emergency alarms echoed through the corridors as Captain Jiwon led the group toward Agricultural Bay 7. The aliens followed, their weapons ready but uncertain what kind of danger they might face. Behind them, Barum trotted along with his ears alert and his body tense. They reached the emergency command center, where several humans were gathered around computer screens. The displays showed maps of the ship and flashing red warning lights. Security Chief Nam Hoseok was coordinating. The response. "What's the situation?" Captain Jiwon asked. "Maintenance worker Lim Jae-woo is trapped in Base 7, Nam replied, his face grim. "A storage unit fell over and pinned him down. The impact damaged the air recycling system. Toxic gases are leaking into the bay." Dr. Park studied the readings on the nearest screen. "How long does he have?" "Maybe 20 minutes before the gas concentration becomes deadly," Nam answered. "But our cutting equipment will take at least 30 minutes to get through the debris." "What about emergency suits?" Engineer Kim suggested. "The storage unit blocked the emergency equipment lockers," Nam said. "Jae-woo can't reach them. Commander." Vextar studied the tactical display. "Can you access the bay from another direction?" "The ventilation shafts are too small for humans," Nam explained, "and the alternative routes would take too long." Captain Jiwon stared at the display, her mind working through possibilities. The alien warriors could see the stress on her face. One of her crew members was going to die, and there seemed to be no way to save him. Then her expression changed. She looked down at Baram, who was sitting quietly beside her. The big dog seemed to sense the tension in the room. His ears were up, and his eyes were alert. "How small are the ventilation shafts?" Captain Jiwon asked. Nam checked his readings. "About 60 centimeters wide. Why?" Instead of answering, Captain Jiwon knelt down next to Baram. She put her hands on either side of his large head and looked directly into his intelligent eyes. "Baram," she said in a calm, clear voice, "we need your help." The dog's tail wagged once, but his expression remained serious. Somehow he seemed to understand that this was not a game. The alien warriors watched in amazement as Captain Jiwon began to explain the situation to the animal. She spoke as if she were briefing another officer, not giving commands to a beast. "There's a man trapped in the agricultural bay," she said. "His name is Jae-woo. You know Jae-woo, don't you? He's the one who always gives you treats from the kitchen." Baram's ears perked up at the familiar name. His tail wagged slightly, showing recognition. "Jae-woo is hurt and scared," Captain Jiwon continued. "The air in his area is becoming dangerous. We need someone small enough to reach him through the ventilation system. Someone brave enough to go into danger to help a friend." The aliens stared in disbelief. The human was asking a predator to risk its life for another species. In their cultures, self-preservation always came first. No creature would voluntarily enter deadly danger for someone else. But Baram was listening intently. His head tilted slightly as Captain Jiwon spoke, and his eyes never left her face. "It will be dangerous," she warned. "The gas might hurt you too. But you're the only one who can fit through the vents and reach Jaewoo in time." Dr. Ryu Subin, the ship's veterinarian, quickly approached. "I can give him a breathing mask," she offered. "It won't protect him completely, but it will help." Security Chief Nam pulled up a map of the ventilation system. "The route is complicated, multiple turns and branching passages. How will he know where to go?" "Barham has an excellent sense of smell," Dr. Park explained. "He can track Jaewoo's scent through the vents." Engineer Kim was already preparing equipment. "I can open the vent access panels remotely to give him a clear path." The aliens watched this rapid coordination with growing amazement. The humans were organizing a rescue mission that depended entirely on the voluntary cooperation of a different species. "Why would the creature risk its life?" Qualheim asked. "What benefit does it gain from saving the human?" "None," Captain Jiwon replied simply. "But that's not why he'll do it." She turned back to Barham and pointed toward the ventilation access. "Find Jaewoo," she commanded. "Bring help." For a moment, the big dog just stared at her. The aliens held their breath, waiting to see if the creature would refuse. Any rational being would choose its own safety over the life of another. But Barham was not just any creature. He had been bred for thousands of years to work with humans. More than that, he had been raised from birth to love and protect his human family. The dog stood up, shook himself once, and walked toward the ventilation access. Dr. Ryu quickly fitted him with a small breathing mask designed for animals. Barham submitted to the procedure calmly, though his eyes remained focused on the task ahead. "The gas readings are getting worse," Nam reported. "Jaewoo has maybe 15 minutes left." Engineer Kim opened the first vent panel. The opening looked very small, even for Barham. The dog would have to squeeze through tight spaces while navigating. "A maze of metal passages. Are you sure about this?" Vextar asked. "The creature could die attempting this rescue." "Yes," Captain Jiwon said without hesitation. "But Jaewoo will definitely die if no one tries to help him." Barham approached the vent opening. He looked back at Captain Jiwon one more time, as if asking for final confirmation. "Go, boy," she said, softly. "Save our friend." The big dog squeezed into the ventilation shaft and disappeared from sight. The humans immediately began tracking his progress through the ship's sensor system. "He's moving through the main air shaft," Engineer Kim reported. "Making good time." "First turn coming up," Dr. Park said, studying the route map. "He needs to go left." On the sensor display, they could see Barham pause at the junction. For several seconds, he remained still. Then he chose the correct path and continued forward. "How does he know which way to go?" Zixandra asked. "He's following Jaewoo's scent," Dr. Ryu explained. "Even with the toxic gas, Barham can track the human's smell through the ventilation system." The aliens watched the progress markers move slowly through the maze of passages. The dog was making steady progress, but the route was long and complicated. "Gas levels are critical," Nam warned. "Jaewoo's in serious danger now." On the communication channel, they could hear faint sounds from the agricultural bay. Jaewoo was conscious but weak. He was calling for help, but his voice was getting fainter. "Barham's almost there," Engineer Kim announced. "One more turn and he'll reach the bay." But then the progress marker stopped moving. For long seconds, nothing happened. The humans stared at the display with growing worry. "What's wrong?" Captain Jiwon asked. "There might be debris blocking the final passage," Kim replied. Or the gas concentration could be affecting him. The seconds stretched into a minute. Still no movement from Bahram's signal. "We're losing them both," Nam said grimly. Then, suddenly, new sounds came over the communication channel. Loud barking echoed from the agricultural bay. Bahram had reached. "Jay-Woo! He made it!" Dr. Park said with relief. But the rescue was far from over. Now Bahram had to somehow signal the rescue teams about Jay-Woo's exact location in the debris-filled bay. The barking continued, strong and persistent. Through the toxic air, Bahram was calling for help with his voice. "Can you triangulate his position from the sound?" Captain Ji-won asked. "Working on it," Engineer Kim replied, his fingers flying over the controls. Meanwhile, in the agricultural bay, something remarkable was happening. Jay-Woo, barely conscious from the toxic gas, felt something warm press against his side. Through his blurred vision, he could see Bahram lying down next to him. The dog had made a choice. Instead of returning to safety through the ventilation system, he had chosen to stay with the trapped human. If Jay-Woo was going to die, Bahram would die with him. "He's not leaving," Dr. Ryu said, watching the sensor readings. "Bahram is staying with Jay-Woo." The alien stared at the display in complete shock. The creature had voluntarily entered a deadly situation to save a human. Now it was choosing to share that human's fate rather than abandon him. "The predator chooses death over abandoning its pack member," Krexnos whispered. "Not predator," Captain Ji-won corrected. "Family." The rescue teams were working frantically now, guided by Bahram's barking. They cut through debris and redirected airflow to reduce the gas concentration. Every second counted. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only minutes, the rescue teams broke through. They found Jay-Woo unconscious but alive, with Bahram lying protectively across his body. Both human and dog were rushed to the medical bay. As the medical teams worked to save both lives, the alien warriors stood in stunned silence. They had witnessed something that challenged their understanding of evolution, survival, and the nature of interspecies relationships. "The creature risked everything," Qualheim said. "For no personal benefit. For love," Captain Ji-won replied. "And that's what makes humans dangerous. We never fight alone. We always have allies willing to die for us, just as we would die for them." Suddenly, new alarms began sounding throughout the ship. This time, they were not emergency alarms. They were battle alarms. "Long-range sensors are detecting multiple ships approaching," Security Chief Nam announced. "Unknown configuration. They're not responding to communication attempts." "How many ships?" Captain Ji-won asked. 15, Nam replied. "And they're armed." The bridge of the New Soul filled with tension as the unknown ships approached. Captain Ji-won studied the tactical display while her crew worked frantically at their stations. The alien warriors stood nearby, their own weapons ready but their faces showing confusion. "Ship identification?" Captain Ji-won asked. "No match in any database," replied Communications Officer Park Sung-jae. "But the hull design, it looks like Devourer ships." Commander Vextar's scales turned pale at the mention of that name. "Devourers? Here? You know them?" Dr. Park asked. "Every species in the galaxy knows the Devourers," Vextar replied grimly. "They consume all biological matter. Entire planets have been stripped clean by their fleets." Security Chief Nam studied the approaching vessels. 15 ships against one colony transport. We can't fight them. We can't outrun them either, Engineer Kim added. "Our engines are still damaged. Captain Jiwon looked at her crew, then at the alien warriors. "How long before they reach us?" 20 minutes, Nam replied. The aliens exchanged glances. In their cultures, this situation had only one logical outcome. A military retreat was impossible, and resistance would be suicidal. "Our ship will take you aboard," Commander Vextar offered. "You can evacuate some of your people." Captain Jiwon shook her head. "We don't abandon our own. All 3,000 people on this ship are my responsibility." "Then you choose death over survival," Qualheim observed. His crystal body flickered, with what might have been respect. "We choose to fight," Captain Jiwon corrected. "But not alone." She turned to her crew. "Prepare for emergency protocols. All hands to battle stations." The aliens watched in amazement as the humans began implementing what appeared to be a military strategy. But it was unlike any battle plan they had ever seen. Dr. Ryu Subin was the first to report. "Medical bay is ready. Baram and Jae-woo are both stable. Baram is asking to return to duty." "Tell him to rest," Captain Jiwon replied. "We'll need him later." Engineer Kim was working at multiple control panels simultaneously. "Releasing the scouts," he announced. Through the ship's windows, the aliens could see small objects launching from the new Sol. At first, they looked like escape pods or missiles, but as they got closer, Zixandra's enhanced vision identified them. "Those are birds?" she asked in confusion. "Carrier pigeons," Dr. Park explained. "Genetically modified for spaceflight, they can survive in vacuum for short periods and navigate by magnetic fields." "What use are tiny flying creatures against warships?" Krexnos demanded. "Intelligence gathering," Captain Jiwon replied. "Each bird carries sensors and communication equipment. They'll give us real-time information about the enemy fleet. Birds dispersed in different directions, some flying directly toward the approaching Devourer ships. Others spread out to create a sensor network around the battle area. Contact from the scouts, Communications Officer Park reported. The Devourer ships are launching smaller vessels, boarding craft and consumption pods. Estimated time to contact? Captain Jiwon asked. 12 minutes for the boarding craft. 15 for the main fleet. Captain Jiwon activated the ship-wide communication system. All families to designated safe areas. Emergency response teams to positions. This is not a drill. The aliens watched human families moving through the corridors with calm efficiency. Children were led to protected areas while adults took up positions throughout the ship. But what surprised the aliens most was that many humans were accompanied by their animal companions. "Why are you not keeping the creatures safe?" Vextar asked. "Because we fight together," Captain Jiwon replied simply. In the agricultural bays, farmer Bei Jinhee was releasing her chickens from their coops. The birds spread throughout the ship, their sharp eyes watching for any sign of intruders. "Early warning system," Engineer Kim explained to the confused aliens. "Chickens have excellent eyesight and hearing. If anything tries to sneak aboard, they'll let us know." Marine biologist An Yeji was working in the science labs with a team of specially trained rats. The small creatures wore tiny harnesses with communication devices. "Infiltration team," she explained when the aliens asked. "Rats can access any part of the ship through small passages. They'll carry explosives to critical points on boarding craft." "You're using prey animals as soldiers?" Zixandra asked in disbelief. "We're using their natural abilities," An corrected. "Rats are intelligent, adaptable, and excellent at finding hidden passages. They volunteer for dangerous missions just like human soldiers do." The aliens were beginning to understand that they were witnessing something unprecedented. The humans weren't just fighting with weapons and technology. They were coordinating with dozens of different species in a complex battle strategy. First contact with enemy scouts, Security Chief Nam announced. 3 small craft attempting to dock with our hull. On the tactical display, they could see the approaching vessels. But they could also see something else. Small moving dots were intercepting the enemy craft. What are those? Commander Vextar asked. Dogs, Captain Jiwan replied calmly. The aliens stared in shock as they realized the truth. Humans had somehow equipped dogs with spacesuits and launched them as interceptors. The animals were using their enhanced senses and pack coordination to hunt enemy boarding craft in the vacuum of space. Impossible, Qualheim whispered. The enemy craft are changing course, Nam reported. They're trying to avoid our intercept teams. But the dogs were too well coordinated. Working in packs, they herded the enemy craft away from the ship's vulnerable areas and toward waiting defensive positions. Boarding attempt failed, Communications Officer Park announced. Enemy craft retreating. The main Devourer fleet was still approaching, but now they seemed more cautious. Their formation spread out, clearly uncertain about what kind of defenses they were facing. They're confused, Dr. Park observed, studying the enemy movement patterns. They've never encountered coordinated multi-species tactics. Captain Jiwon opened a channel to the Devourer fleet. This is Captain Lee Jiwon of the human vessel New Soul. You are entering protected space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The response came in a harsh, buzzing voice. Humans will be consumed. All biological matter will feed the swarm. I don't think so, Captain Jiwon replied calmly. She gave a signal to her crew. Throughout the ship, humans began releasing more of their animal allies. Cats, equipped with sensor packages, slipped through maintenance shafts to gather intelligence. Birds carried communication relays between different sections of the ship. Even the small hamsters and rabbits were fitted with tiny cameras to provide reconnaissance. Devourer main fleet entering weapons range, Nam warned. All defensive positions. Ready, Captain Jiwan announced. Remember, we protect each other. The first exchange of weapons fire lit up the space around the New Soul. The colony ship's limited weapons were no match for the Devourer fleet's firepower, but the humans had other advantages. Their animal allies provided information that no technological sensor could match. Dogs detected enemy movement by scent traces carried on air currents. Cats used their excellent night vision to spot hidden threats. Birds flew reconnaissance missions that revealed enemy weak points. Enemy boarding pods incoming, Nam reported. Multiple impact points. Let them come, Captain Jiwan said with a dangerous smile. The first Devourer soldiers broke through the ship's hull and found themselves facing something they had never encountered before. Humans and animals fighting side by side with perfect coordination. Barum, despite his recent injury, led a pack of dogs in hunting the invaders through the ship's corridors. The Devourers were used to fighting individual creatures or simple pack tactics. They were not prepared for intelligent coordination between multiple species. Cats used their climbing abilities to attack from unexpected angles. Rats delivered explosives to enemy equipment with surgical precision. Even the chickens contributed by creating noise and confusion that disrupted enemy communications. This is impossible, Commander Vextar said, watching the battle unfold. Different species cannot coordinate this effectively. You're wrong, Captain Jiwan replied. On Earth, humans learned that survival means cooperation, not just with our own kind, but with everything that shares our world. The Devourer attack was failing. Their soldiers were being systematically hunted down by coordinated teams of humans and animals. Their technology was being sabotaged by creatures they had never learned to defend against. "Enemy fleet withdrawing," Communications Officer Park announced with amazement. "They're retreating." Through the ship's windows, they could see the Devourer vessels turning away from the new Sol. The attack that should have been a simple consumption operation had become a nightmare of unexpected resistance. "How?" Zixandra asked. "How did you defeat a superior force?" "Because we weren't just one species fighting alone," Dr. Park explained. "We were an alliance of dozens of species, each contributing unique abilities to the battle." Young Han Subin appeared in the doorway, still holding little Snowball the rabbit. "Is it over?" she asked. "It's over," Captain Jiwan confirmed. "Thanks to all our friends." Bahram limped onto the bridge, his tail wagging despite his exhaustion. Subin ran to hug him, careful of his injuries. "Good boy," she whispered. "You saved us all." Commander Vextar stared at the scene before him, a wounded predator being thanked by a small child.